Hey, it's Brendan Payne with Century 21 again, and today I wanted to explain the 3% myth to you. Most people that are selling on their own, in my experience, are willing to work with an agent if they bring them a buyer. They just haven't gotten to the point where they have decided to go ahead and list it, or they've got some extra time and they're going to try it on their own for a while. Whatever the case may be, most of the time, the goal of the seller is trying to save that 3% if they can find a buyer that will pay them the same amount that they would if it was being marketed with an agent. Because clearly, if you can get the same amount and pay a 3% commission as you would selling it with a 6% commission, you're going to net more in your pocket. Here's the critical part though. It's getting the same or a higher sales price. That's where the 3% myth comes in. Let me explain a little bit more. You're out there and you're deciding that you're going to sell on your own. You're working with agents. If they bring you a buyer, sure, bring me a buyer. 3% commission, that's very fair. That's what most of the other properties are probably going to be paying them, whether they're listed or not. So the agent should have no problem bringing a buyer if they come across somebody. Let's assume they come across somebody. The buyer calls and says, hey, I want to go see that for sale by owner. So they call you and they set the appointment. They come out, they get the one-time showing agreement. Agent's happy you're paying him 3%. You're happy because you've got a buyer showing up, getting him 3%. Here's the part that really most people don't know is happening. What's going on in the buyer's mind? The buyer, when they know that property is for sale by owner, understands that most of the time you're not paying a full commission. Now, when they know that, do you believe that most of the time they're saying, well, you know what? I know he's not paying a commission, a full commission. So he should be able to get the same price. He should be able to sell it at the same price. That's not what buyers are doing. When buyers are going and looking at for sale by owners, they know most of the time that they're only paying one side of the commission. So the buyer is really unlikely to say, you know what, good for them. They should get that extra savings. They typically are coming in lower than they normally would if they were working on one that was in the MLS, because they believe you're saving the money, and the buyer's saying, listen, I don't think the seller should get more in their pocket. I should get a better price. So when you think through that from a buyer's perspective, and if you were the buyer going out there, would you be willing to pass that savings on to the seller? And in some cases, the buyers, when they show up and decide, all right, this is the one that I'm looking at, this is the one that I want to make an offer on, they're doing that math in their head and they're saying, listen, this is probably the market value, but he's saving 3% on the commission. I want that deal. That's what's going through the buyers' heads when they're looking at those for sale by owner properties. So the key is, yes, if you can get the same price or more on your own and save 3%, that's great. If you can't and you get a smaller price or less of a net in your pocket because the buyer's coming in and feeling like they should get the savings, then at that point, you really didn't save anything. There's a couple other factors to understand about that 3% that usually will come up. Most of the time, the agent is going to be able to save you considerable amounts by having relationships with inspectors, with repair personnel, with attorneys, title companies, and different things that they do a lot of business with that will often offset some of that extra commission if you end up paying two sides of the deal. The other part of it is the liability factor, which we will cover in another video where I explain the liability factor that is something to be aware of as well. So in essence, remember, this is about your net number. And sometimes just that 3% coming off the top line doesn't always net you more in your pocket, nor does it get you sold quicker. So when you consider carrying expenses and stuff like that, that's another part of the equation. Hopefully this has been helpful. Look forward to you taking a look at the other videos, and if I can get you any other information, then please let me know. Thanks a lot.